Hey, this is Bruce, and I am on staying in my home on quarantine. But this is another podcast for cybersecurity, IT, ConvoCourses, and today I'm going to be talking about. I got two questions I'm going to answer. One is going from a Linux security, a Linux administrator to an information system security officer or a cybersecurity type position. I'm going to show you how to do that. That's kind of what you're looking at here if you happen to be watching me. Um, and then we're going to talk about somebody had a question about upgrading an OS in their environment. The organization is upgrading the OS, and they want to know like what controls that do you have to change for that. Those are the two questions I'm going to answer, and then I'm going to open up to any kind of questions that you guys have. Any questions about anything security related, we'll talk about it. And let's get into this. All right. So first off, I have a resume here, and what I want to do is first of all I want to apologize. Last week, somebody asked me a question, and they asked me they said I'm a Red Hat Linux person, and I want to do what you're doing. I want to do cybersecurity. How do I go from Red Hat system administrator to a sort of like a cybersecurity engineer or a ISSO or something like that? And I just watched my video back, and I didn't answer his question. I started telling him how to get a job doing Red Hat. So first off, I apologize for that. And secondly, I'm going to show you how to do it. How to transfer, how to go from here to there, how to go to from a Linux administrator to a cybersecurity person. So first off, let me frame this for you. If you happen to be an IT person, if you happen to have done help desk for a couple years or a year, if you happen to have done network engineering, if you happen to have done a Unix administrator, a Linux administrator, if you happen to have done any kind of IT work and you think that you're not doing any security, you're wrong. Because if you've done any kind of IT, there's a 90% chance you've already done quite a bit of security and you just didn't know it. So what you want to do is you want to make your resume is to highlight all the security stuff you've done on your resume. All right. So now I'm going to show you how you do that. So right here I have a resume for a Tom Brock. I just made this name up randomly, and I made this resume right here that I have on screen. This resume has two different job experiences on it. Has one as the title of it is Tom Brock Red Hat Administrator, and the experience is company location, and the first position is Unix Administrator Linux, Red Hat Linux, and then the second one, company location, position was same thing, Unix at another company. He was a Unix administrator, or she was a Unix administrator doing Red Hat Linux, right? And then there's another one just says Linux admin and shows all the stuff that they've done. What we're gonna do, you're gonna take this entire resume and we're gonna highlight all the security things that they've done. I'm gonna show you where to grab some kind of cybersecurity stuff that you can get and put it in your resume. Now, we're not going to lie here. We're not lying, okay? First off, we're not going to lie on a resume. We want to make it as accurate as possible. Sometimes we want verbiage that we may not know, right? So we got to know where to get that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm talking about. First off, let's look at the top. We're going to put in what our projected job. Right now we have a Red Hat system administrator, but we're going to turn this into a cyber security analyst. Cybersecurity analyst. This could be a cybersecurity engineer, cybersecurity. You take your pick on the name. The names are interchangeable with cybersecurity. In some cases, it's not. If you're a forensics guy, you're gonna be a forensics guy. But we're talking about a cybersecurity analyst. You could do. There's many different types of jobs in security. It's pretty broad. But for now, just for a filler, we're gonna put cybersecurity analyst. Okay. So in our first position at company, let's call it company A, and the location was, I don't know, Virginia or something, right? And position was a Unix administrator, Red Hat Linux. And then we have the month, day, year to present. This is where we currently work. We're going to highlight all the security things we've done. Now, you may be asking, like, Bruce, like, what do you mean security stuff I've done? I'm a Linux guy. How would I? Well, have you ever updated the Linux system? If you've ever updated the system and put patches on the system, like let's say you put you updated, I'm just writing it, I'm typing it in here, updated, let's say responsible for updating, let's say this organization had 100 Linux system, 100, let's say the entire agency's server farm with critical patches. That's the security. Congratulations, you've done some security. So you want to put that on the top of your resume. You want to put all security stuff on the top of your resume, right? Because you've done security before, you just need to highlight it, right? And actually, I see patching already here. So they've already written it here. I grabbed all this stuff from somebody else's resume, by the way. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take their verb because this is pretty good. Update, patches, configure. And I can do better than this. Respond, and then we're gonna say, watch this. There's something called vulnerability management. So this is a huge keyword for cybersecurity. It's used in most organizations. What we're doing is highlighting things that are security related that help the entire organization. So you want to think of it in terms of, see, the shift here for a system administrator or a help desk person is to go from I fixed this system to I helped the entire organization from a security perspective. Because this is what employers are really looking for. They have a problem in their organization and they're looking for a skilled professional, yourself, to come and fix that problem. So it's not just that you're fixing that Linux Red Hat 6 box. It's that you are an asset to the whole organization, that you didn't only fix that Linux box, you assisted in the vulnerability management of the organization. You see you see the shift there? So let's write that. Assisted in vulnerability management of the organization by, what do we do? What do we do? By updating put the V in the wrong place. Updating the entire agency's server farms with critical patches, right? So you see the shift, see the difference in language. So in one, I don't know, let me make sure you guys can see this for those of you watching this and not just listening. So the shift was, I'm not just fixing and patching applications, I'm assisting the whole organization. What is my impact as a skilled cybersecurity expert to your entire organization? Am I lying? No, that's literally what I did. I'm just shifting to show what I really did, to show my impact, because that's what organizations want to see. All right, so now let's put some more stuff in here, okay? So this person put, let me just read this person's stuff here. I didn't really read it. Updated patches and configured software. Okay, I already put that in there. I'm gonna get rid of that. We don't want redundant stuff in here. Perform day-to-day operations and interface and with internal and external clients. Okay, how about this? Provide. What can we do? We're thinking, what have we done from a security perspective to impact the whole organization? We provided, not only did we did day-to-day operations and interfacing with the internal and external clients. We provided cybersecurity expertise to external clients. How do we do that? By giving daily security training and best practices and best practice tips to peers. No, not to peers. That makes sense. To HR department. I don't know. Again, we're not lying. We're not embellishing. We're talking about take what you have done and shift it to your impact to the organization. So that is what we're doing. Don't lie on your resume. That's the worst thing you can do, because if you get listen, what you're trying to do is get an interview, right? If you get the interview, you want to nail it. If you lied on your resume, you're making stuff up. See, the thing is, truth comes through. If you're truthful on your resume and say what you really did, all the security stuff you really did, the passion of what you did comes true. It comes through, and people can read that. People see it. So what other security things have you done? Let me just take you on a little journey here. Let me show you something here. This is right. What you're looking at here is a family of security controls. Right now, this may not mean anything to you, but thing is, it does. If you're an IT person, you've done a lot of the things on this list. What are you looking at? This is the Nist family of controls. Now, what's special about this is that there's an international standard that covers these same controls in some way, shape, or form. They have different names for it, but there's an ISSO. It's called ISO 27000 is one of them. I think that's for risk-based stuff. Anyway, there's an international standard. There's one for banking. There's one that covers, there's PCI. There's health organizations. There's Sarbanes-Oxley, who does banking and financial stuff. All of them cover some sort of security controls, and you're looking at a template that looks a lot like all those security controls. You know why? Because everyone uses the same security best practices. And let me just show you what you've done before if you happen to be an IT person. If you're an IT person, you have definitely done some sort of access control. You've probably even done documentation for access controls. You've definitely created some accounts for people. That's AC2, access control management. You've definitely done some kind of flow control. You've done some separation of duty. You've done some, I'm saying a lot of jargon, but these are things that you have done before. And what I'm telling you to do is put these in your resume and show your impact to the whole organization of how you've done it. So that's what we're trying to do. Let me show you another one. AT. So I was in the resume that I showed you, I was showing you how you've trained. If you've ever trained on security, if you've ever trained, a lot of times in an IT department, you may think you've never trained before. But if you've ever had a session where you had to take a peer aside and teach them some stuff about routers or something, right? There was something they didn't understand, or some new person comes in, you give them on-the-job training. Guess what? You're training them. You're teaching them. At some point, you got to show them some security, right? You got to show them, okay, here's how you do a password. It can be as simple as that. Password is 14 characters long, has special characters, has lower and uppercase characters, stuff like that. You're doing training with them and that is awareness, security awareness and training. Another one is this one right here, AU controls. That's auditing. If you've ever turned on audit logs, if you've ever looked at an audit trail to see what's going on with the system, why is it not working all of a sudden? If you're a Linux administrator, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Process stops. You got to go into the back end you got to go into the command line, and you got to, what was it called? You got to do an audit trail. You got to do a trail dash F. I don't remember the commands anymore, and I apologize, but you got to go into the audit logs and look at what happened, and see where it actually stopped, where the process stopped. You can do I don't know, a PS command. I can't remember the exact command, but you got to do a PS command to see what processes are running and why it stopped. So in that, you're looking at the logs to see what happened. Where did it go wrong? Where are the errors? So audit logs. You have turned on audit logs. You've turned off audit logs. You've looked at audit logs. So all of those things, all of these things right here address some sort of some features of security things that you've done, and you want to put those in your resume, and you want to put them on the top. Now, I can't tell you what you have done in your career, but you know what you've done in your career. And you want to go through your resume and figure out, okay, what security things have I done? And if you're curious about it, like, you can, not only can you use Nist, you can go through SANS like top 10 items of best practices, and I guarantee you've done multiple things on that list. Think about audit logs. Think about anytime you set up accounts. Think about anytime you've even done physical security. If you've ever had to put a system in a rack and make sure that there's physical security around inside of the server room. Think all of those things are security related that you have done. You want to put those at the top of your resume and then market yourself as a cybersecurity person because you've actually done cybersecurity stuff before, right? Now, if you don't feel comfortable putting the title cybersecurity because you've never held that title, okay, fine. You could put Linux admin security. Put security in the name to make yourself more marketable. You're trying to make yourself more marketable as a cybersecurity person. That's what you're trying to do. Now, somebody is here saying, at work, I'm going through the 500 of these 853 controls and I'm mapping them to the risk management requirements. It's brutal, man. Yeah, it's not easy. It's a lot of work. It is a full-time job, that is for sure. And you will miss things. But that's why you have assessments and stuff. So what you'll do is you'll go through all the security. I feel your pain because that's exactly what I've done before. You go through all the security controls, and then you make sure that somebody is going to actually implement them and make sure that they're in place, and then somebody's going to assess them. So it's not just you. Like, one thing to keep in mind is that when you're doing the security controls, it's not just you doing those security controls. It's a whole team, right? There's stakeholders. Don't, like, a lot of times us security people have a tendency to put all the stuff on our shoulders. And you got to remember, it's a team effort. You don't ever take all the responsibility. Share the wealth. Share the wealth, man, because it's not just you. Peer review, exactly. All right, so that's it for this one. I would, maybe I'll cover this again and have a more prepared. I walked through this before where I've done one of these before where I went through the partial portion of the resume and I put some more language in there. But I hope that you get the gist of this one. I'm going to move on to the next subject, which was, actually I got another person talking here. Let me see. Novi says, Bruce, thank you for the content. Your channel is underrated outside of ISSO and Risk Management Framework. What are some of the other options for remote work that are not so heavy on documentation? Oh, man, there's plenty. I was actually afraid because most of the jobs I see are mostly technical. But aside from ISSO and risk management, I think you maybe I have a kind of a jaded view because that's what I do. But many of the jobs are network related. Network engineers have a lot of remote jobs. Linux administrators have a lot of remote jobs. SIEM people have a lot of remote jobs. Splunk, ArcSight have a lot of remote jobs. Those are all very technical. I would say most of them are technical, to be honest with you. Most are very technical. Some are documented. I happen to find those because that's what I've marketed myself to do. So, like, a lot of the jobs that come to me are ISSO and risk management framework related. Okay. And before I go on any further, if you guys are interested in knowing more about this and deep diving into this or other topics, you can go ahead and check out ConvoCourses.com, and I've got free stuff there. I've got, every now and then I'll release a newsletter with a video. I'll give out discounts sometimes for my courses. Tons of stuff, downloadables, you name it. And I'm going to put more and more content out there for everyone. So just go ahead and sign up at ConvoCourses.com and support the channel. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is cover this one right here. From DF, he or she says, let me see if you guys can read. I don't know if that's big enough. So, okay, it says, hi, I'm going through an upgrade of an operating system, and I'm wondering what controls will be impacted, but impacted the most, because we need to gather artifacts, that means evidence, of for an assessment. Okay, this is a great question. This is a great question. This is so great that I actually prepared a little slide for this one. I like this one because this is one that you worry about as a risk management framework person. All right, so here we go. Here, what you're looking at here is the Nist 800 process. Nist 837 risk management framework process. And so for this person asking, they're changing their operating system, what controls do they need to go through? And the answer is all of them. And don't, like, I know you're like, what are you talking? What do you mean all of them? You got to go through all of them. And let me explain. So when you do a major change on a system, you have to go through the process of making sure that the security posture on the system remains the same. And to do that, you have to make sure all the security controls have not been affected by this major change that you've made. Now the caveat to that is that it's not as hard as you think, because most of the controls are not going to change, right? So your physical security controls aren't going to change. Let me just go through these. So the physical, that's PE. Physical security control is not going to change, right? You didn't change locations. If you change locations, then yeah, physical location is probably going to change the physical and environmental protection of the security controls. If you AC controls are probably not going to change because you probably have the same security policy. You probably do things like you still are going to make the accounts the same, right? Unless you're suddenly changing the method of how you create accounts, then that may, the operating system is so drastically different that you have to actually change your process. Then yeah, maybe that's different. Like maybe you're going from, if you were going from a Windows system, a Windows 2008 system that just went end of life, and you're going to a Oracle system, like you're a database, then yeah, access control might drastically change where you have to change that completely. But if you're going from a Windows 2008 system that went end of life and you went over to a Windows 2012 and it's essentially doing the same thing, but you guys want to move from an end of life system to a system that's going to be supported by Microsoft for the next 4 or 5 years or whatever it is, then there's not going to be much of a change. So you're going to go through every one of the controls and most of it won't change. However, there will be things that do change. Those things that change will be mostly technical. Let me explain what I mean by that. So once you have put the new system in place, right? You've applied all the new security controls. Like someone, I don't know if it's you or you're part of your team or you're part of the team that does it, but they're going to implement all the security controls. They're going to make sure that the system has the proper encryption, has the proper certificates, has the proper connections. If you guys have maybe you have spyware, anti-spyware on there, or you have antivirus on there, that has to go on there. It has to have updated signatures. There's a whole bunch of work that has to be done when you're going through and putting this new operating system in. Once all those things are in there, right? All the technical controls, and I don't know if you have like a document that'll walk you through it, or maybe you have STIGs, security technical implementation guide that's walking you through everything, or maybe you have, some people have like a script that'll like put everything in there, one part at a time so you don't lock the system out or something. But all that stuff's in there. The next step, once it's been implemented, is to do an assessment on this. And that's where we are going through this wheel again, right? So you didn't have to do categorization because you know the system's going to remain the same. All the same information is going in there. You have pretty much all the same controls. That doesn't change. But you've had to implement the controls again on this operating system, right? And I'm assuming that this system is one of your main systems, right? It's not a side system. It's an asset. It's a server. So you have to implement all those controls again, which means you got to reassess those controls. Once you reassess the controls, what happens a lot of times is when you go from one operating system to another operating system is that the new operating system, there's going to be like slight changes where some things won't work the same way anymore. And so that's what you're trying to weed out and make sure that it's working as close as possible to the original security posture. And when I say security posture, it's an odd word for the same security level that you had before, essentially. So once you've implemented, you've assessed the controls and got them as close as possible to the original, now you're going to have to go to authorizing the system. And this is where it goes to your head of agency, I don't know if it's a colonel or CEO or CFO or whoever, CIO or somebody who has to approve the system. And so you've gone through all the security controls. You've validated that the physical security controls didn't change, that the training security controls, all the controls didn't change anymore, right? But the technical controls did, right? Those controls did change, and those ones will affect things like this. Like this one might change: identification and authentication. Like when you're putting this one into the system, one of the things that might be affected is like how you're logging into the system. It may be slightly different. Another technical control is we already talked about AC controls, but that's, I'm trying to look for other controls that will be might be affected by encryption. Might be infected. You know what's on my mind. SA controls, system and services acquisition. That's dealing with how the person purchased the system. So that might not be a factor because I'm assuming that you went through all the proper channels to actually get the new operating system on there. SC controls, that's your system and communication protection controls. That's where you have your encryption. Are you using SSL or TLS? TLS 1 or 2 or 3? Which TLS version of TLS are you using on that system? Those are very technical controls that you may see once you run a scan and you're doing the assessment on the system. Once you're doing this assessment right here, those things might come up and you'll see that it may have changed, but you want, like I said, you want to get them as close as possible. So authorizing the system, that's one thing they're going to be looking at. They're going to be looking at the scans and making sure, okay, is this still the same security level that we had before? Last time we had no issues with the old legacy system, except that it is end of life. But on a new system, we have these different changes technically. So that's, I hope that answers your question. You asked, your question was, what controls change? What controls do I have to worry about if I'm going to a new operating system? And I would say all of them. But the only one, you have to validate all of them because you're going to have to go through the process again, and somebody's going to have to authorize the system. But the ones that really change are going to be the technical controls, and I hope that answers your question. All right, I'm going to go ahead and answer some questions here that somebody's asking, or conversation here. I got Vince. How you doing, Vincent? He says, good job, brother. Keep up the good work. Thanks, man. Started as an ISSO recently. Still onboarding. Waiting to get my T5. What is a T5? Is that a clearance? Is that must be some kind of security clearance. And any advice on what should I read while I'm waiting for my clearance? Yeah, absolutely. I got some stuff. You should read. What should you read if you're a new ISSO waiting for your clearance? A real good reading that's going to be real relevant to what you're doing is It's going to be Risk Management Framework, which is Nist 837. I would read that one. Another one would be Nist 853, which is the security controls that you see here. Oh, okay. A T5 is higher than a secret, lower than the TS. Oh, okay. So Nist 837, Nist 853. Another really good one that people don't talk about is Nist 812, which is it's like a cybersecurity blanket. It just kind of goes through. Let me just show you that one real quick. That's a good one too, I think, to read. Let me just see if I can find that one real quick. Let me see here. It's Nist 800-12. This one's pretty good. It's like a basic breakdown of just Nist security, computer security stuff. And why I like it is it has a real good definitions of what I'm talking about. Some of the stuff I'm saying, like sometimes we in this field will say words that professional words that aren't normally you don't use them in public or anything. It's an introduction to information security. So it gives you a good rundown on, and you, if anything, if nothing else, you can just keep it as a reference. And let me just show you the kind of stuff that's in here. Getting past all of the references and everything, who authorized it and all that, into the purpose, intended audience. There's some really good stuff in here. Explanation of all the roles that you're going to see. Those are good to kind of skim through. Like CIOs are really important, that you're probably going to end up dealing with this person or their staff. And it just explains what is a CIO? What do they do? You'll learn here that the CIO is above the actual security people. Like normally you have a security office and they're directly underneath, and report directly to the CIO. Stuff like that. Like what is this? What is the information owner? What is a senior agency information security officer? And there's different names for this. Like it probably won't be named exactly that, but you'll see people who are very similar to this. This is a good document, but a better document is once you get through this one, light reading, just kind of going through it, skimming through like definitions and stuff. Definitions like this, threat and vulnerabilities, an overview, like what is it, and see how it's referencing other documents and stuff, like risk management documents and stuff like this. It's a good place to start that'll branch you off into other things. It's pretty good. Like advanced persistent threat, this is really good information. Like these are words they'll people throw around. Like they won't even say advanced persistent threat. They'll say APT, and you'll be like, what does that mean? But now you'll know because you have this document that has this jargon in it, and it points you in other directions here. So those are the 3 documents I would recommend. Let me see. I've got some other folks talking to me here. Navi 2000 says, I have seen a lot of Splunk. I've done incident response before and working on a CISSP, and I need to buy your course. Thanks. Yeah, Splunk is really good stuff to get into. It pays really good, man. And then he says, I've done incident response before. Incident response is pretty hot. Like that's pretty hot stuff right there. And working on CISSP. Another option is instead of CISSP, if you find it a little bit too pricey and too hard, is it's just unnecessarily hard, man. I have a CISSP, but to be honest with you, get something that the CISSP is awesome. It's awesome, but the CASP is also really good, and it's equal to, and I don't know that it's as hard as the CISSP, but you're gonna get treated the same with the CASP. I think CISSP is probably more widely accepted. Like it's accepted in several different industries, but the CASP is also accepted in the federal government if that happens to be the space you're working in. So just to kind of just giving you more options, you know. But CISSP, like if it's definitely worth getting, man. It changed my life. I mean, it's no doubt about it. Jay Smith says, but doesn't it depend on what you categorize the system at? Moderate, low. Oh, you're referring to what we were talking about as far as us going through what controls that you need. I suppose it depends on a lot of different things, right? Like it depends on if it's a low system, like if it's a low system where the impact to the system is very low if the system goes down, and you're changing operating system, and the organization states that okay, we don't want to redo the authorization on the system because it's a low level system. Yeah, it depends on the environment. It depends on a lot of different things. So that's a good point, Jay. Depends on the organization. Ultimately, they're the shot callers on that one. High, even secret, clearance okay. What about a DAPM? And somebody I think explained it below. Correction. Oh, okay. DSS assessment and authorization. Is it something one should read as well? It's kind of specific. No one. To be honest with you, that document. What I mean is, it's specific to their organization, to DSS, and it's not even called DSS anymore. It's called Defense. I have to Google it. DSS's new name. Agency. They have a new name. I don't recall what it is. Defense Counterintelligence Security Agency. So it's that document is good, but it's specific to their organization. It would be like the equivalent of reading the Army's AR, what is it, 25-2? I don't. In the Air Force's 33 101. I don't know. I might be just blowing smoke here. Let me see. AFI 33. Let me see how good my memory is. I'm getting old, man. I can't remember stuff anymore. 31101 is wrong. 31. It's 31201, I think. 201? 201. Nope, that's not it. Oh, okay. Wait, I'm on the right track. Communication and information. This might be on the right track. Yeah. 33201. So 33201, AFI 3300 is it focuses on the Air Force's implementation of security and information technology, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just put in. Okay, let me just cheat. Air Force cybersecurity. Oh man, come on Google. Cybersecurity document. Help me out here if anybody knows what I'm trying to say here. Security documentation. I thought it was AFI 33. I'm kind of going down a rabbit hole here. Maybe they changed it. It's been a long time since I messed with the Air Force. It might have changed. And I can't find it. I don't know. I thought it was Cybersecurity 101. No. Okay, let's go to the Army. It's AR 25-2. AR 25-2. AR 25. Oh, somebody said it. 25-2. 25 I used to know these things really well, man. I've been out of the loop on DoD for some time. That's part of it. Anyway, yeah, the DAA PM, isn't it DAA PM? Yeah, this is the document you're referring to. this organization has their own interpretation of cybersecurity. How they basically they take the Nist, and then they have their own, not interpretation is probably not the right word, but overarching security policy for the organization, just like the Air Force has the 3300 series, and the Army has AR 25-2. Every organization has an overarching security policy that addresses how they implement federal regulations for conducting cybersecurity. And the way that usually what they'll do is they'll take a large portion of the Nist and they're implementing the Nist in there, the Nist security standards. All right, let me see who else we got here. So yeah, reading that, your question was, should you read that? Yeah, you can, but a better reading would be the source documents, which would be NIST 837, NIST 853. The NIST documents are better because it's a vanilla version of what the Department of Defense, the Department of all these other federal agencies are doing. They're actually using the Nist, so that's what I would recommend. Let me see. Garage Autonomous says, just stopping by to thank you for your channel and content. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. I'm glad people are getting some value out of it. This is the stuff I do, so I like to pass it on when I can. But before I let everybody go, how you guys doing out there? You guys, hope everybody's taking this thing seriously, because it's serious. So just take care of yourself, take care of your family, stay indoors, protect yourself, protect people who are vulnerable to this stuff, because it just might be you, man. It might be you, might be me that's vulnerable to it. I don't know. For all I know, we might have had it here a couple weeks ago. I mean, since we have no tests, we don't know. So just take care of yourselves out there. And thanks for all the great questions and great information. I'm always learning stuff as I go through this stuff, so I appreciate that. It's a great way for me to continue to grow and stay relevant in this field. Right now, I'm doing stuff for the private sector, and it's fun. I love it. But staying up on the Nist stuff, this is a great way for me to stay fresh on it by teaching it. Yeah, these days what I'm doing is I'm doing risk analysis for different companies and for private organizations, for banks, and for hospitals and stuff like that. And I'm really having a blast. It's really expanding my horizons. But my core is really Department of Defense, Nist, that kind of stuff is really where I'm coming from. So I want to stay relevant in it. And so this is a great opportunity for me to do that. Let me see if there's any other questions. I saw some really good ones on my site here that I'm going to have to save for another day. David said, I've noticed that there are more companies hiring for remote jobs. Yep. Yes, there are. How do you troubleshoot though? Yeah, that's a whole nother thing that I would like to maybe do. And I don't feel like I'm the best person to talk about that. I'm not. I've done technical stuff. I know how to troubleshoot, but I don't know that I'm qualified to teach it. Excuse me, I don't have a lot of experience with it. I've never been super good at it. So, I mean, I can figure stuff out, but I don't know if I can if I understand it enough to explain it to others. You know what I mean? But maybe I'll think about it. Maybe I'll run through my old stuff there. I didn't find this very useful for the free Splunk site stuff. Okay, somebody else said that they did. So, somebody said nice job. I was studying for the CCNA at one time, and a lot of the CMDs were similar to Linux. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So in this video, I was talking about how command line interface and knowing Linux really helps you out with internet working devices like Cisco and Juniper and Palo Alto and the back end of Splunk and the back end of like ArcSight. It helps with all that stuff. That's what I was saying for that one. It really helped me out knowing Linux. Somebody else says couldn't have come in a more perfect time. Great to hear that. And this is the one I've been wanting to call. Let me see if I can find it. That was a real good question here that I might want to do. Here it is. I like this one, but this one I'm gonna have to save for another video. Can you do a video interpreting vulnerability scans? Yeah, I can totally do that. That's a good one. That's a great question. Wow, I like that. I'll have to come back another time though, because that one takes a lot of that's gonna take a lot of I'm gonna have to prep for that one and go on Google and then find the actual scan that somebody put out there for whatever reason, and then I can do an interpretation of those. All right, let me see. I got some more people talking here. Nabi 2000 says, "Well done." Oh, doing well, he says. N95 and gloves. When we have to enter the stores, this is going to go for a long time. Yeah, you're probably right, Nabi. Lately I started wearing the gloves and getting all kind of crazy looks here in Colorado. Wearing the gloves and stuff, but I'm seeing some people taking it more serious, like wearing masks and stuff, which is good. The main thing is like don't touch your face. After you've been out and about, like go home, wash your hands, and sanitize and stuff. But then you want to wear the mask and stuff to protect yourself from people coughing or you coughing on somebody else. Navi says, we need the antibody test, yes, to see if we have already had the COVID-19 to recover. Yeah, man, that's so important. Otherwise, how are we going to go back to work? Like if we don't know who's already had it, if we know we've already had it and we're already, we're asymptomatic, we can go back to work and stuff or start going out with no problems. Have you worked outside the government in security roles? Yeah, actually right now, I was just talking about that, Gabe. I'm doing it right now, as a matter of fact. I'm having a blast. I really like it. I'm learning a lot. Totally different. I've done it before, but normally what I did was I was in a contract working for government / other B2B. But it was still felt like the government. But now I'm doing like purely non-government stuff, and I'm doing like I'm analyzing different security for different companies. So I like it. It's a way to learn. I'm learning other things, so it's more fun. Like I've been doing risk management for so long, that's not like a challenge anymore. So how I've been doing it so long, it's not a challenge, and it's gotten kind of boring because I already know like what but in this new field I'm learning stuff. I'm learning new things. It's fun. I love learning new things, and I like being in a place where I'm learning from other people who are so smart. I love that. I feel like a little kid, where I'm learning from all these people who are way smarter than me. And then there's people who are really smart in one area, you know what I mean? Like not that they're smarter or whatever, but they're professionals and really good in like really deep in one area, which all of us have that. All of us have like something that we're really good at in one area. I've not met too many polymaths. I've met a few like who are brilliant in everything or whatever. In South Florida, the PPE has become normal. That's good. Man, Florida wasn't taking it serious at all for a while. I mean, did they stop having people go to the beach? Did they close the beaches down? Yeah, I can't wait to do this one. I'm gonna I'm going to reserve this one for another time. Where's that question at? Somebody said they wanted me to analyze a vulnerability report. Vulnerability scan. Yeah, that's going to be fun. I want to do that live. Gabe says, I'm very similar. I've done DoD RMF work and transitioned into full-time consulting with a security firm. I've learned so much outside DoD. Yeah, I like DoD. Don't get me wrong. I like the government. I love learning the Nist. Actually, everything I learned from the Nist helps me out so much, man. Like, it's because I know this stuff right here. Like, because I know this family of controls, it helped me to be very well rounded. To where whenever I'm with a client, like I know what I'm seeing, and I know what they may or may not, what they may what they have to do, to fix certain things, or I can make different recommendations because I know this stuff. So I definitely appreciate where I came from a technical perspective, and I used to hate this stuff, man. It's funny because I really used to hate it, but it's really given me such a solid foundation in security that it's paved the way for so many other things that I can do. I mean, with this stuff right here, I could work in like England, because it lines up with England's standards, with Canada's standards. It's an international standard that it lines up with, so it's really cool. Beaches are all closed now. Spring break was stupid with the kids out there. Yeah. Yeah, this is something else, right? I mean, this is so different. Excuse me. This is such a different thing. Like, this is something we've never lived through this, in our lifetime. So it's very interesting. What scares me the most is the incompetence, the ignorance. The virus is killing what in America so far, 2%. Like, that's bad. That's horrible. New York is hit really hard. But really, what scares me is not this pandemic. If the numbers were much higher, I'd be terrified. But I have a very decent respect for it. Don't get me wrong. But what scares me is the incompetence at the leadership level. And I'm not going to get into politics or anything here, but it's terrifying. I can't believe how incompetent the leadership is, and hopefully the states step up and do something. Some states have. California has gotten it under control, which is good, because they started early, and in Washington State is finally getting control. So that gives me some hope. But some of these states, man, they're not taking it serious at all. So, and thankfully Colorado is taking it serious. So they're trying to crack down. Their Governor Polis is I think he's doing a decent job of making people aware. He's been going on TV like every other day or week or something like that, every week, and yeah. So that's good. And then the local counties are taking it pretty serious, like as far as closing the schools down. That's what they're doing here. They close the schools down, and then doing everything online. So that's good. I don't know how serious people take it out and about in the stores and stuff. Some really, really ignorant people that are not paying attention to anything. I don't know if they're doing it on purpose or they don't care or what. But thankfully, some of the stores are starting to take it more serious, so that's good. I'm glad they closed those beaches down over in Florida. All right, guys, that's it for this one. I'll be back next week, unless I can spin something else up tomorrow or sooner than that. I usually try to do these on the weekend because I have a full-time job, so don't do it on weekdays unless it's after work from time to time. Hopefully I can do some more of those. But for now, it's every week, maybe tomorrow. And thank you guys for watching. Appreciate everybody. Thanks for all the people who've signed up on ConvoCourses.com. I got plenty of, and if you happen to be signed up, contact me via email anytime. Anytime, I'll answer your questions, any questions that you have. And that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. I am